Is a will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
We're riding with Ryder, and he's actually riding along now. He's on his way hunting, so that's why he's got the camouflage garb on. Mikey Ryder joining us here on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series. What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, Colter. Thanks for having me, man. Let's be clear. I'm a fake hunter. We talked about that. I'm just tagging along. A fake hunter. I'm good, cheap labor for someone that's manly enough to actually take down an elk. I'm going to help. That's all I am.
Hey, well, if you're getting paid in elk meat, that's a pretty good wage, because that's some good eating right there for sure.
Yeah, he promised me some of the primo cuts of the elk meat, so that's good.
Good. Well, first of all, during your playing time or coaching time, do you ever remember having a bye in the first month of the season? And if so or if not, what do you think of just the timing of this for Montana State?
No, I don't think we ever did. Our buys normally were mid-season or late season, but I think if you're a coach, Holder, you've got to look at these as something that's you take rest whenever you can get it, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, you'd love it mid-season, but you look at the Cats, for instance, they'll take that. I mean, they're beat up to begin with. It sounds like they're getting guys back. I know they released their depth chart yesterday, and so along the offensive line, it sounds like maybe Drew Polidor is actually getting close as well. So, you'd love it later on in the season strategically, but I think you take the rest anytime you can get it.
Well, the thing is, they get another bye. So it's like
Yeah.
you get the two buys, which is so beneficial. It's like you play basically your non-conference, and then you get like a warm-up game before conference. I think they're scheduling. I know it's frustrating. Brent Megan expressed frustrations on Monday about Stephen F. Austin canceling that game. And he said, I really don't think it should have even been allowed. They should have been forced to play it. Can't really call it off 2 months ahead of time. I mean, that's pretty, I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh on him, but it was not a good situation for anybody involved. But that said, I do think it probably worked out the best it could for Montana State, because you get an early bye, and now you have basically a cupcake game headed into conference play. So you get to get healthy, you get to get retuned up, and then you dive into Big Sky play. So I think it's all things considered beneficial for them.
Yeah, I think both of the buys, it kind of breaks up the season. Look, fall camp is taxing. It takes a ton. I know that Coach Vegan, he's wise with, how they do reps, but I know that they have a lot of volume. And so you hit fall camp, you get to the end of it, you go and you're on a 3-game win streak, you put in a nice body of work, you take a break, then you head into conference play and have another sprint, and then you get another bye towards the late tail end of the season. So I think it could work out nicely for them.
For sure. For those that don't know, this Bobcats' second bye is the week of October 26th. That comes between at Portland State and at Eastern Washington. So you also get to break up a couple of the road trips in the league as well. So a lot of scheduling advantages for Montana State, but they certainly have to be able to take advantage of those. When it comes to this Mercyhurst team, Mikey, I don't know anything about them other than Erie, Pennsylvania, and they have been Division I for a year, but they didn't even play a D1 schedule last year. The one thing I can say is that Montana State is going to be the best team Mercyhurst has ever played, for sure, ever in their history.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's funny. I covered Moorhead State, Montana last weekend, and their coach gets up at the post-game press conference, and he's like, someday I think my guys will look back on this as a good memory. Like, they got to play in front of a sellout crowd, but he's like, we lost 59-2, and I don't know what my guys think about anything right now. I think that they're completely in shock. So
yeah, it probably feels more like a field trip. You hate to say it, but like, I mean, they're coming from Erie, Pennsylvania, heading out west. I mean, a game day experience that they haven't really felt before, and I mean, good for them. I guess the only parallel, this sounds silly, but I had the opportunity to go play. You play Michigan State, and you play, Texas A&M, and I'd love to tell you, Colter, that you settle up to those games thinking you're going to go in and shock the world, and maybe some people did. I didn't, right? You didn't go into Michigan State being like, oh, baby, we're going to go in there and get her done against Kirk Cousins and the boys. it was more like, look, let's go in there and let's play well. Put some good stuff on tape. It's a fun experience. It does have a little bit of that field trip feel to it. And you just go and do the best you can and get back home, hopefully healthy is the main goal.
Well, when it comes to this week, the things I'm going to be watching are, one, they did get a couple offensive linemen back, Montana State did. Burke Mastel and JT Reed are both back. Those guys are both listed as oars on the depth chart at the left guard spot, but that allows you to bump Connor Moore back out to left tackle. So, sort of the conventional way of thinking is that offensive line continuity is such a huge deal. So I don't know why you'd want to break it up, but they're actually going back to the offensive line unit that they had for a long time, minus, I guess, Sans Justice Perkins. So the other thing is, though, these guys don't seem to really abide by conventional wisdom. It seems like they can literally plug and play, which is just so impressive. I don't really know how they've been able to do it so efficiently, but they have.
Yeah, and you call it conventional wisdom, and I've had the same train of thought too. Hey, continuity on the offensive line. Your same guys are playing the same positions. But I think that, I don't know. You look at the NFL, and I do feel like, especially interior wise, those guys do need the flexibility to bounce around.
For sure.
And I think it's gone away from that. You need to be able to play on the interior offensive line, center guard on both sides, and then periodically you got those guards that are good enough, like Marcus Weir, excuse me, drawing a blank there, but to bump out to tackle. And at the college level, I think it's especially important. You got to have guys that can play multiple positions because injuries happen. And I think we're going to see that more and more. And we've seen it every single year, Colter, for Montana State for the last however many years. They've shuffled guys around, and they've needed to, just based on availability and some injuries and getting the best five out.
Well, it's also, I mean, you think about a guy like you played with, Mike Person. I mean, he made an NFL career out of this, right? Like he was a tackle in college. He taught himself how to play guard. He taught himself how to play center, and that's why he played in the league for 9 years, because he had that versatility.
Yep. And I think it just speaks to trying to get on the field and getting the best five out there. And credit to Al Johnson, who's developed a lot of those guys to play multiple positions, and they're ready when the number's called.
But sometimes you get a guy then that moves a spot out of sort of a sacrifice for the team, and it's actually a better spot. Like I think about when J.P. Flynn was there at Montana State, they were grooming him as the right tackle first and then the left tackle. And then all of a sudden he has to play guard because they get all busted up. And then, oh my gosh, the guy's an NFL guard. He's one of the best guys in the whole conference, and he ends up going to the NFL. I think that same thing is true with Weir, man. I mean, he was a great tackle, but now that he moved into guard, I mean, I don't know if you saw Twitter today or not. I mean, they got 5 scouts in Bozeman right now looking at him. So, and I know they're looking at more than just him, but he's the number one guy for sure. And I don't know, it's just interesting the way that sometimes the circumstances work out like that.
Yeah, totally. And you the people that have the ability to have versatility. I mean, you could say the same thing about a couple other positions. Whether you're a safety that has the ability to play nickel, and you can go and play on the edge and man up a tight end, but also have the ability to get in the hip pocket and stop. You play effectively in zone. It's the same thing. You're finding football players that have the versatility to play multiple positions. I don't think it's any different on the offensive line.
When it comes to what else I'm going to evaluate in this game, I think you're going to see more out of the backup quarterbacks. I think they got to prove they can operate, whether that's Jordan Reed, Chance Wilson. So what are you going to be watching when it comes to those guys, especially if they are able to build a big lead and get Tommy out of the game?
Yeah, I got a hunch that Chance Wilson's going to get more of those reps. I think for a direct comparison in terms of how Tommy operates, I think they're more similar than obviously Jordan Reed. Maybe that's like a Doug comment, but I do think he showed some flashes when he threw the ball downfield. His escapability was nice. I just think his ability as a dual threat quarterback, to me, when you look ahead into the future next season, I think that transition is going to be easier for the Bobcat offense. And so I look to see more of him here against Mercyhurst, because I do feel like Jordan Reed got that shot against Maine. And, I think he had some opportunities to throw the ball downfield, and he didn't pull the trigger. And then you see Chance go in there and do that. and threw the ball downfield, operated the defense or the offense well. The game management looked pretty darn good. So look to see more of both of those guys, but I bet we see more of Chance than Jordan, just my hunch.
Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any town pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Right down the road, pump it up. Oh, yeah.
And when it comes to defensively, I think that, their defensive line's so used to rolling. So even when they're getting into their 2s and their 3s, their 2s are as good as anybody else in the FCS, really. Most people would die to have Zach Cruz and Zach Black and Paul Brott coming. I guess Brott's starting a little more now, but he's kind of like one of the 3D tackles. But anyways, talk about that second tier defensive line. Those guys are money, and even the third guys are pretty good too. So, but if they are going to roll in some other guys at other positions, though, I'm really, really looking hard at the number 2 safeties and the number 2 linebackers. Their linebackers, I think, are good. The first 3. I think the next group, though, they have a long ways to go. And, give those guys some rope. They're really, really young. But you and I were talking about this after the last game. I don't think it's because of a lack of ability. They just don't know where they're going. There's just a lack of recognition of where to be and what to do.
Yeah, sometimes that's just a rep thing. But we talked about it after the main game. When those guys do get opportunities, because they're going to be plenty this Saturday, those things have got to get off of the tape. Whatever was shown against Maine and some of those mistakes and some of the misfits in the run game, they're going to keep the defense pretty vanilla. But those 2s and those 3s have got to show that they've taken a step from the main game on, because they've got to establish some depth. It's not a secret that the MSU linebacking core is just a little bit thin. Those first 3, you said it, are I think pretty dialed in, but you have to have depth to make a deep playoff push, and they've got to establish it. And this game is going to be a big measuring stick. Will be where are we at in depth, not only on the linebacking side, but I think the corners, right? Because they've been a little bit beat up. Simeon Woodard's been beat up. John Johnson's beat up. How do they get other guys in and show that they can contribute? Because you've got to be able to spell the corner position just as much. It'll be helpful. Drew Polidor, hopefully getting him back in a couple weeks. But depth is the name of the game, man. You got to have it, regardless of your level of football. I don't care if you're Top Warner or at AA or in college or in the pros. You got to have depth and be ready when your number's called.
One thing I was thinking about that I don't know if there's a way to define the why, but it is an interesting dynamic. Usually the position that the Montana schools struggle at depth at the least is linebacker, because you get so many good linebackers out of Montana. You can get like the walk-on guys that they become great players, like the Josh Hills of the world. And, there's a million of them. Bobby Daly. There's so many guys that were partial or no scholarship guys who become awesome. But I don't know what's happened. It seems like there's a little bit less of linebacker talent coming out of Montana. I just think it's really interesting. Like both the Grizz and the Cats, if you were to say, where do you guys have depth problems? You'd say linebacker.
Yeah.
And that has not been the case, though. Usually it's like linebacker U for both schools. So I don't know. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because of what's coming out of Montana now, if it's just cyclical. It's just a weird dynamic.
Yeah, and it could be I mean, just a guess too. It could be a number of those things that you alluded to, but I think it also could be um, offenses are so pass heavy. There's so many plays coming at you every single year, or
Yeah.
every single game, and so I feel like that nickel position is a little bit more popular because everybody is really, are you playing with an outside linebacker? Or are you playing with a nickel?
Right.
That Caden Dowler type. I
Right.
think more defenses are playing with that type of guy because it fits what the offense is trying to do. And so I don't know, maybe at the high school level, I do know that they're playing a lot more of like the, 4-2-5 type deal. When you do see 4 down and just trying to get that hybrid nickel safety in there. A lot of high schools are doing it. So maybe that's contributing to maybe some of the lack of development. What we're seeing now is lack of depth both in Missoula and in Bozeman on the linebacking core.
That's a really interesting point because now I'm like, okay, maybe Caden Dowler was a Sam linebacker 10 or 15 years ago instead of a nickel, right? Like Riley Nort, like the defense you guys used to run, like Riley Nort probably would have been playing like that Macchiola or like Alexi Grosselak spot, Instead he's playing strong safety because of just the way he can run and then the defense that they run. And that's probably the same thing at Montana too. Like Tyson Rostad, who's playing for the Grizz now, he probably be playing linebacker 15 years ago.
You look at like a Brandon Fisher, right? I mean, Brandon Fisher was playing linebacker for the Grizzlies. And I remember going to camps and stuff with him. And he was a safety, right? I look at how I played. My skill set was more of an outside linebacker. I played a couple games of that helping out, but like it is kind of a hybrid. You're going to get more of that body type. You're going to get less Troy Andersons in the state of Montana, and you're going to get more of the Josh Hills, the Caden Dowlers, maybe a little bit undersized that are kind of that hybrid nickel spot.
Anything else you're going to be looking at defensively for Montana State? You mentioned the corner depth. That's certainly part of it for sure. I think we're going to have a hard time evaluating their safeties until they get Drew Polidor back. Like, Ort's a stud. I'm still I don't really know about Blake Stillwell. I think he's still coming along. Tyson Pottinger's been banged up. There's just a lot of guys we don't know much about. I think Polidor is special. I think he could be really, really good, but he hasn't been able to stay on the field. So that's definitely back the evaluation of that spot.
Yeah, I think he's got good length. Polidor does. Got to stay healthy. I think I'm just excited to see them. One, you're right. We're not going to see a ton from the secondary because I think the defensive line is just going to be way too much for the offensive line to handle at Mercyhurst, and so we're never going to see that true drop back. I think I'm not sure we're going to see him get tested here this weekend. But all that to say, I still want to see the timing of blitzes, the pressure on the quarterback, and the Cats get home with 4 because they haven't shown to do that quite yet. And I want to see them continue to do that because down the line, you've got to get pressure on the passer late in the conference season. You've got to be able to secure the game, get off the field on third downs, and it starts with your pass, with getting pressure on the quarterback. And then that certainly makes your secondary look better.
I feel like that part of the reason they haven't been able to get to the quarterback that much is because all these non-conference teams are so scared of them.
Yep.
I think New Mexico just max protected against Brody Grebe, and then everybody else just wanted to get the ball out as fast as possible. Like it wasn't even possible to really get to the quarterback so I wonder if part of that's just because, we're finding out about this unknown opponent, and you see, they led the country in sacks last year. They have this guy that had 11 sacks last year. Like, I wonder if the scout just indicates that those guys just aren't going to get opportunities. There's always a party in Montana, whether you're going to a wedding, a football game, a concert. Montana Party Bus can get you there safe and will take you anywhere in Montana. You can relax with friends in style, luxury, and safety. Western Montana based for local and regional travel within Montana borders. Montana Party Bus is great for both large and small groups with a capacity of up to 30 guests. If you want to elevate your event, call them anytime, 406-200-8096. You can also visit mtpartybus.com. Travel anywhere in Montana in style with the Montana Party Bus.
Yeah, and I think that certainly could be. they're doing turn protection, sprint out. They're just guarding themselves from disaster because those sacks are so detrimental. And so I don't know that we're going to see a lot of that again this weekend, as far as like, are they just going to try and drop back and do what they do? Or are they going to try and move the pocket? I think they'd be wise to do what Maine and some of those other teams have done. But I am eager to see them get into conference play and apply pressure to the quarterback, because I do feel like teams like Idaho and Sac State are going to stick to what they do, and Montana. So I'm anxious to see that depth of the D-line that we've been really applauding. I want to see that show up both in the run game and the pass game, getting off the field on third down.
Yeah, that's the last point I'll make, and then I'll let you go. I think that that's a great point when it comes to like when you get into conference play. Like, for example, Jason Eck or Bobby Houck will just challenge their guys and say, hey, Greeby's an All-American. So are you, Brandon Casey. Show me what you got. It won't be like, oh my God, we can't let number 41 kill us. It's going to be like,
yep.
Oh, you're a 4-year starter, Brandon Casey. Show me what you got. Jackson Slater, let's go. Let's have a duel.
Yep.
It is funny in conference play. There is a lot more like challenges like that.
Yeah, I think because you just got to stick to who you are, right? You can't just, there's certain situations where you want to double Greeby or, slide protection and maybe, get a back to him and chip on him so make sure he's not getting the quarterback. But at some point, you just got to be like, look, we're going to take calculated risk and we're going to do what we're going to do. And so those opportunities will come up here in conference. And I hope this defense
Our family on our mom's side has a deep Montana history, especially stemming from Butte and Helena. And we are so proud. One of the things we are most proud of is to call ourselves Montanans. At Up Top Clothing, they have Montana-made and Montana-branded clothing for both men and women. Their Montana Till I Die collection is one of my favorite collections anywhere in the clothing world. And you can shop online and get the Montana Till I Die collection and all the other great gear that Up Top Clothing makes delivered right to your doorstep. Visit teamuptop.com, and if you use the promo code Skyline15, you're going to get a discount on all your online ordering. Teamuptop.com, Up Top Clothing, reminding you to take a step back and enjoy the moment.